Hi ladies. How's everyone doing today? This what's 2:31 this afternoon. Days going by quickly, right? So this is my second go around on the Facebook Live. Last I think my first day was Saturday. Had a couple of glitches. I think I experienced some issues using the Google Chrome browser. But we're here now, and I'm in the office, so a change of environment. I'm expecting good things this time around. So let's get into it. Oh, and before I get into it, I want to thank Women Helping Women Entrepreneurs platform for presenting me with this beautiful opportunity to just speak to more women and be able to network. It's really a beautiful thing. So thank you so much, you guys, for having me. Um, I don't know who tuned into my last live, okay, but I believe that women gleaning from one another is a critical part of our development, no matter what our age is. Okay, so who you connect with and decisions you make can change generations. For the first time in my life, my job fulfills purpose because I actually help women be independent. All right, how do I do that? Well, first, let me just give you guys a quick introduction, kind of let you know why I do what I do and why I am who I am, right? So, my name is Keyonna Rudolph. As I mentioned, I'm 29 years old. I was born to a single mother. Um, I have five siblings, two brothers, and three sisters. I'm almost a baby, but I'm not. There's one under me. Um, anyway, curveball. My mother was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Okay, um, and if you guys don't know, schizophrenia is a disorder that affects a person's ability to think. It affects their ability to feel, and it affects their ability to behave clearly. Okay, so my mother lost custody of me and my elder sister due to this diagnosis. I was adopted at the young age, just 8 months. Okay, but I had routine visits with my mom. These were supervised visits. So, while I wasn't in her care directly, um, I did know she was my mom, my genetic mother. I knew she was my biological mother. There it is. There's the word I was looking for. I knew she was my biological mother. And so growing up I had lots of questions. Once again, my mom, she was a single mother. So not only was I adopted, um, I didn't know my father. I have my mom's last name. Rudolph is my mother's last name. That's her maiden name. So I had lots of questions. I wanted to know why I was taken from my mother. I wanted to know why, why don't I know my dad when other kids around me, they had very close interpersonal relationships with both their parents, even if they were in separate homes. Maybe their parents divorced. They still had warm connection with their mother and father, or one or the other. Whereas I didn't necessarily have that warm connection because of the situation at hand. Okay, so yeah, I had these questions, these issues. They left me in a state of brokenness, and so I made decisions from a broken place. I found myself repeating generational cycles of dysfunction. The choices I made came with consequences. So I was making and building relationships in brokenness, and these relationships that I formed, they didn't add any value to my life. Okay, you know, we all can talk about that, but they didn't add any value. Okay, so it was just like, I don't know, maybe it was a time consumer, just something that I had this deep void of emptiness, right? And these relationships formed, they didn't fill that void. They just they added layers to what was already empty, what was already broken, what was already void. If anything, they damaged me more. So Let's just fast forward a little bit to my junior year of high school. Um, I met this guy. I thought he was the love of my life, right? I call it puppy love. I landed pregnant at just 17 years old. Okay? So I had my son my senior year of high school at the age of just 18. He was born 3 days after my 18th birthday. And I had no idea. I didn't even have a clue. Wasn't thinking about marriage. Had never thought about a husband. Okay? And so that was so far from my mind. His father was there physically, but he was absent spiritually, emotionally, uh, and financially. And we all know babies, they demand attention, they demand care. They didn't ask to be here, but somebody has to take care of them. Um, Fast forward a couple of years later, his father and I, we broke up. As you know, I'll give us some slack. We had a kid at a very young age, so neither one of us knew what we wanted out of life. We grew apart, so to say. So now I'm a single mom. But for the first time in my life, my job fulfills purpose because I educate young women, I educate young families. I don't care what the age is, but I educate young women and families on tools that exist to drive their families' futures. Oftentimes, we think that an emergency looks like dying in a fatal plane crash. And while it's possible, according to PBS.org, the annual risk of being killed in a plane crash for the average American is about 1 in 11 million. Okay, so the chance very small, right? But I want to paint a real picture for you, a very realistic picture for you. And just a disclaimer, I don't know if we have any gentlemen on the live, but of course I'm speaking from a woman's perspective. Um, so I love to make it my point to share my own testimony, my own life experience with other women because I don't want anyone to experience what I've experienced as a young lady, as a young woman. So, ladies, just to kind of uh, build this warm connection here, majority of us are mothers or want to become mothers, or we know someone else who does want to be a mom, right? This is kind of like what we want as young women. Nobody doesn't have to necessarily tell us this, but that's kind of the American dream: get married, have kids, right? So I'm sure most of us that have been pregnant can attest to some type of unpleasant experience, whether it be excessive nausea or something more serious like preeclampsia. God forbid something more serious than preeclampsia, but it's common. Um, Guys, if to my fellas, if they are listening, if any of the young men in your life have ever been around you while you were pregnant, or maybe you know a young guy who has a sibling, wife, whatever, I'm sure they can attest to the fact that pregnant women, um, they kind of have things going on, whether they're throwing up, maybe they don't feel well. They're probably thinking to themselves like, well, what's wrong now? You know. According to the CDC, more than 50,000 women a year are affected by maternal morbidity in the United States. More than 50,000 women a year are affected by maternal morbidity in the United States. This is an alarming rate. Um, Maternal morbidity refers to physical or mental illness or disability directly related to pregnancy. I can attest to this myself, okay? At age 23 years old, I met another guy, remember, still functioning in broken cycles, um, and I became pregnant with twins. I was placed on bed rest around 16 weeks gestation. One day I rushed to the hospital because my water broke. I had already experienced pregnancy with my son. Remember, I had him at 18. So this wasn't my first, go around. I visited my OBG regularly. So I knew that my water breaking, I knew this was too soon. At the emergency room, I was told I had an infection called Group B strep. It's an infection caused by a common bacterium called Group B streptococcus. It comes and goes naturally in the body, and so it's a very common bacterium. However, it's very harmful to pregnant women. Okay, so not only was I unable to work for weeks prior to this because I was placed on bed rest, right? I couldn't work. Um, I was now facing a life-threatening infection. The infection broke my water. I landed in the hospital, and if the infection would have gotten in my bloodstream, I was told that I could die. And the chances of recovery, they weren't great, right? So I had to go through that. My family, they came, they visited me at the hospital, and it was just a battle. I was in the hospital for maybe, I want to say probably 7 days. Okay, now this happened in 2016, so while I've grown through the pain, it is still something that is very real to me. It is very near and dear to my heart because it's my life experience. So I actually lost the twins that day, but I survived. Okay, so my point in sharing this with you is to say that disaster knows no age. My son was 5 years old. I could not pay my bills. I had to move out of my apartment, and I had no plan in place. Today I speak to you guys as a miracle. You know, don't be like me. Um, the reason I do what I do is because number one, I feel like there are some things that I experience that a little bit of advice from another woman, just a little advice from another woman would have helped me to avoid or maybe even to change my mindset, right? Um, Not growing up with that warm connection to my mother and being adopted that left me with a void, and at such a young age, I don't know that I would have resonated hearing advice from a male, right? I'm a young woman. Why do I want to hear from a male? So, a big part of what I do is because I found a lack, so to speak, in the community. I found two lacks. The first one being there should be more women confidants in our communities for young women like myself who might not have that mother figure, maybe that sister figure or friend or anybody to get advice from. I feel like as women, life throws heavy loads on us, right? We are natural weight carriers. Our jobs are to nurture. But sometimes we carry the weight of life on our own, and our neighbor they could use a little bit of knowledge, right? They could use a little bit of advice. They could use a little bit of nurturing, a little bit of care. And I feel like women connecting with women, no matter what age, can resolve a lot of heartache, honestly. Like, we want to do multi-generational connections. That's my goal. I would love to have multi-generational connections with other women who can give advice, who can kind of steer us, so to speak. So the first thing, like I mentioned, the first lack that I noticed within the community was the lack of woman confidence. The second lack that I noticed was basically there's a disconnect, right? There's a disconnect. So if you do have a center of influence or a woman in your life, maybe they're just your sibling. I'm noticing that they're not accessible to others. So what I'm saying is I feel we should have more women success stories within our own communities, within our own families. Oftentimes we hear about women making it to the top, but you don't hear about what they went through. Maybe they got advice from, their grandma. And so kudos to them. They made it. But that same seed that grandma planted in them, that seed could be shared with another young lady like myself, or someone in the community who maybe doesn't have access to grandma, right? Then it can be watered, it can be nurtured. So yeah, the second problem that I'm finding here is that women that are successful are not they're not accessible to people who are not sitting at their table, so to speak, to people who are trying to better themselves, who don't have that same position of opportunity right away, right? So those are really big problems. It was a huge problem that I had to overcome. And in time and with education, I did overcome. But that's why I do what I do, guys. I help women be independent by educating them on tools that exist to drive their family's future. The information that I give can be applied, and it can change lives immediately. It's not a hoax. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what your demographic background is. I don't care what your age is. Literally, everybody that I've sat down with has found the information that I've given them useful. If applied, you have the ability to change generations. So, yeah, I've actually partnered with a really great company. Just because of compliance, I won't mention the company's name, but they have an excellent women's market. They might, no, I can't say that, but I would say their care for women is equal with mine. So they've really helped me birth out this passion that I've had deep inside to actually connect with women and provide resources within the community. And I'm talking about real answers. I'm talking about real solutions, things that are obtainable, that you do not have to be rich to do, okay? Or take advantage of. So if you guys, want to speak to me further, or if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me. No question or concern is stupid, right? All questions are good questions. All of my one-on-ones are free. Okay, I'm gonna say it again. All of my one-on-ones are free. You can contact me on my website. It's www.standachance.net. Once again, www.standachance.net. Standachance.net. Fill out the contact me information. I have all of my other websites linked there, and you will speak with me guaranteed no matter what. This is my baby, so I feel the best customer service and the nurturing comes from me, right? Like nobody can take care of, my babies like I take care of my babies, right? So yeah, definitely reach out. Tell me a little bit about yourself. There's a section where you can, tell me something, whatever you want us to share with me, an interesting fact. And yeah, we'll go from there. I'll go ahead and reach out and get you scheduled. Other than that, I think it's a wrap. So thank you so much, ladies. Once again, I want to thank you guys for having me. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye.